أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. As we promised that there's going to be a part 2 with brother Shabir Yusuf. Like I mentioned before, he's an individual, from Blackburn who goes to Speaker's Corner, has been going there for 20 plus years. And it's been an honor, actually having him on our channel and, speaking to him and having a Q&A with him and, having, a bit of a discussion with him. So as we promised for the part 2, we will be inviting with those Shabir Yusuf once again.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We have with us brother Shabir Yusuf once again. How are you doing? You okay?
Alhamdulillah, I am fine. How are you, my brother?
Alhamdulillah, not too bad, not too bad. I mean, I did mention that I've not been feeling well for the past few days.
Yes.
But I couldn't lose this opportunity, on doing this video with you again. So I had to come back with it.
No problem. Inshallah, like I said, anytime you can give me a call and we can get it on, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair. Right, so moving on to our next topic.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you want to take as long as you want, because I've only got 3 or 4 questions on this.
So
I wanted
not a problem.
So I want it to be more benefit for the people who are like, you could say maybe who are looking into religion or Islam or any, at least they know about reasoning and everything, how to go forward. So so as we move on, because I covered 7 questions last time, so we're on question number 8 now. So the question is is Islam compatible with modern science, and how do Muslims reconcile scientific discoveries with religious texts?
What an excellent question. Do you know, like I've always said, perspectives are very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that, in fact, it is pretty much the whole world is wrestling with is this distinction between science and religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a conversation that is being had not only in the Muslim world, in the Christian world, in fact, in every part of the world. Okay? Because if you think about it, at this moment in time, what we call science has taken primacy. Everything is related to that. You will find many people who are atheists, when you ask them why, they say, well, we don't have any scientific evidence for the existence of a creator. So the word has permeated literally every household, okay? And I would respectfully submit that the majority of the people who use this word are not actually familiar with the word itself. Okay? Now, when somebody asks, is Islam compatible with science? I usually address the question from a perspective of what I call knowledge and evidence.
Right.
Okay? So, usually when I'm having a conversation, the first thing I ask is, the term science, the word science, where did it originate from? Now, interestingly, you will find that it comes from the Latin word scientia, and the word scientia is translated as knowledge.
Right.
Now, it also comes from Old French, which actually means knowledge, learning, application, and a corpus of human knowledge. Okay? So the question then is this: the word science traced back to the term or the word scientia means knowledge. The question I would ask, and I'm restricting it to the Quran, does the Quran contain what we call knowledge?
Yes.
Now, if it contains knowledge, and we use the word scientia meaning knowledge, then there is no distinction between the two.
So there's science in the Quran.
Well, the whole of the Quran is science. If you look at the word scientia meaning knowledge, we do, however, know that that word has, how can we put it, evolved over time. Okay? And today, we have got what are known as soft sciences and hard sciences. I don't know if you are familiar with these terms. Basically, soft sciences, psychology, psychiatry, etc. Hard sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, etc. Okay? But The question is whether there is compatibility between Islam and what we call science. My contention actually is that it's not a question of compatibility. It is actually looking at what the Quran contains and establishing from its contents that it is actually what we would call the word science. Now,
Okay.
I will clarify a bit more, but just before that, we need to make a distinction between the word science and what is known as the scientific method. There is a distinction there. The method actually is what the majority of human beings are actually talking about. Yeah. Whereas the word science, as I said, it means knowledge. Yeah. But today it takes on a bit an understanding that is beyond just the word knowledge. Yeah. It goes into its application, into how to establish certain facts, etc. Yeah. They've got tests like the falsifiability test, etc. Okay. But if I were to contrast that with, just as an example, and this is quite an off-quoted ayah, okay? Surah 21, ayah 30. Yeah. أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا. Yeah. Now, do not the unbelievers see the heavens and the earth were joined together? Now, to me, that is a statement referring to some what we would call natural phenomena.
Right.
It isn't. You cannot give it a mystical interpretation. Yeah. Although people will try, but if you look at the words, very clear. Yeah. And the verse carries on and saying, "From we made every living thing from water."
Yeah.
Now, this is an often quoted verse. Okay. Now, my contention is that if I were to look at it from that perspective, what is it telling me? Now, the Quran, like I said, if we look at the word, yeah, and its compatibility, as you said, for me, yes, on an evidential basis, you look at the Quran. When we use the word science in the context of knowledge, it has got that. I would actually further submit that the Quran does not only contain what we would call subject matter that is scientific, okay? And I'm making this clear distinction, what we would consider to be scientific, but it surpasses what we would call science because it talks about elements which at this moment in time, the scientific method cannot actually be utilized to establish what the Quran's contents are.
Right.
Okay. So we will touch on that in detail. Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, if somebody asks me, is there compatibility? I would usually say I would not even use the word compatibility because the Quran contains knowledge. Now, if we want to, I mean, look, a lot of brothers claim that, oh, this idea of scientific miracles is debunked. Yeah. My perspective is that, look, you are considering it to be miracles. That in itself is an error.
Yeah. You can't.
Okay. That in itself is respectfully an error.
Yeah.
Okay. Because for me, and this is something I would suggest to all my brothers and sisters, whoever are going to listen to this, that what we need to start utilizing is the idea that we need to extract from the Quran rather than impose on the Quran. Yeah. So when a word is being utilized commonly, like the word science, we would usually say, okay, let's have a look. Is there any science or is there any scientific evidence in the Quran? But to me, wait a minute, if I go back to the source word, it's knowledge. But here is an additional element that needs to be considered. Why would the Creator mention certain things in the Quran which clearly would come in the domain of what we call science? Like the verse I just mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, just before you go ahead, because this is one thing in my experience I've come across that a lot of Muslims do this as well, and they are kind of dismissed at the same time. Because, so let's say there's a Muslim, he'll
Yeah.
say that, oh, there's a verse in the Quran that mentions this scientific fact.
Yes.
But then he'll say, oh, well, it's been confirmed by science as well. But then if we turn it around, well, there might be a verse in the Quran that modern science says that's not the case. So it's like using the Quran to match it with this, because if it matches with this, this is correct. How do you see that?
A few minutes ago, I just said that what we need to do is extract from the Quran and not impose on the Quran. Okay?
Right, okay.
So here is the issue. If there is something in the Quran,
Yeah.
and according to science, that is not the case,
Yeah.
where lies the misunderstanding? My contention is very clear here. It would be with whatever information we currently possess.
Okay.
Because,
right.
Yeah, because my contention is that what the Quran contains, by definition, and this may sound very complicated, but it is not meant to be. Yeah, by definition, the contents of the Quran are absolute. Okay? And what that necessarily means is that whatever information is contained therein, research, further investigation, will actually establish the veracity of the statements in the Quran. As an example, brother, we know that we were told about how the universe was static 150 years ago.
Yes.
So much so that one of the greatest brains, Albert Einstein, when he was formulating his calculations or his equations, they were telling him that it wasn't a static universe. But he forced himself to try and fit his equations to the static universe model. He called it his greatest error. But he did it.
Yeah.
But the question is, was that the case? Was it a static universe?
No, it wasn't.
Because transfer ourselves to that period.
Yeah.
And where the Quran talks about the earth going round on its own axis.
Yeah.
The creator created the universe. Yeah. By definition, if it is created, it had a start point. Yeah. I'm talking about us looking at the Quranic contents at that time when the world thought that it was a static universe.
Yeah.
Now, we subsequently find, after investigation, post 1929 and Edwin Hubble and his discoveries, we suddenly find the universe is expanding.
Yes.
But that means it's not static.
Yeah.
So now, what we call the scientific textbooks have to be rewritten.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
They have to be rewritten. Okay? Now, my contention is the contents of the Quran are not like that. The contents of the Quran are actually telling you, you will make the discoveries until you come to this point, and you will see that what the Quran has said is what it was all along. Now, if, as you rightly said, that, where you are making a comparison between what scientific facts are in comparison to religious texts, I don't see it that way. Because the Quran in Surah 5, Ayah 3 tells us very clearly that this day have I perfected your way for you and chosen al-Islam. Okay? The Quran says that. But the Quran also says in Surah Fussilat that, we are going to make you look on the horizons and within yourselves until it is manifest to you that this is true. Okay? Now, how can you look into yourself? Ask yourself a question. If I ask you, it says you will look into yourselves. How would you look into yourselves?
I mean, if you're contemplating, I would say, or even if you were to look at it in a different way, that how the body is designed, especially from inside, that's it. Yeah.
Excellent. But there's an issue with that.
What?
You see, because if you are going to do that, you are going to have to rely on the sciences.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, the moment you say, okay, let's go and check what the body is like, okay, we are going to go into the realm of what we call science.
Uh-huh.
But here's an issue, though. The issue is that comparing Surah 21, Ayah 30, the ayah is talking about phenomena that today we would consider in the realm of cosmology.
Yes.
Is cosmology a science, according to the definition?
Of course, his knowledge,
Yes,
isn't it?
it is.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So now the question I'm asking only on that verse, is that a scientific verse? You know, like we said in the previous program, Surah 434 is a legal verse, I said. Now,
Yeah.
is this a statement alluding to some scientific element?
Yeah.
The answer is a definitive yes. We can't move away from it. Now, when he talks about, the Quran talks about the milk of cows,
Yes.
yeah, it's talking about a biological function.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Is it talking about a biological function? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
The Creator in various places talks about the creation of man, clay, mud, whatever. Now, oddly enough, there are some individuals who think the Quran is contradicting by talking about various aspects of the creation.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, no, that's a simpleton view. But the point is, we have got what we call the theory of evolution right now.
Yes.
And prior to that, there is what is known as abiogenesis.
Right.
How did life begin? Now, granted that today the definition of life has over 100 odd definitions. We don't actually know what life is by definition. Okay? But the question is that if we are going to go to the source of where life was created, is that a scientific endeavor? It is.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. If there are statements alluding to all these subject matter in the Quran,
Yeah.
are we going to say, okay, you know what? Because religion is not compatible with science, we are going to have to interpret everything in an esoteric way. But there's a problem with that. Anything esoteric, from my humble submission, is subjective.
So in a nutshell, and how I understood what you're saying is, so for example, as I gave the example of certain Muslims, what they'll do is they'll use the Quran, they'll quote a verse and say, well, science confirms it, so therefore it's true. This is one which you disagree with. Right?
Yeah.
What you're saying is that the Quran says one thing, science, well, the science that we are talking about today, modern science, that says something else. But we shouldn't be imposing on the Quran, but extracting from it. Why? Because science is basically changing, and it's changing, and we are getting more information as research is going forward.
Absolutely. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
The Quran talks about the heavens and the earth being joined together. Yeah? That requires investigation.
Yes, it does, yeah.
Yeah? At this moment in time, what is it we know about the formation of the universe? We are told there was a bang, a big bang.
Yes.
Now, when we say big bang, it wasn't a chaotic explosion or anything like that. Yeah? Immediately after that, after a few seconds, there was inflation. Okay? Then the formation of the gases, which led to the formation of the stars, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Now, when the Quran is saying, do not the unbelievers see the heavens and the earth?
Yeah.
Now you are thinking, wait a minute. It's saying, لَقَدْ كَفَرَ الَّذِينَ. So does that not apply to the Muslims?
Of course.
Does the ayah not apply to the Muslims? Because it's saying, do not the unbelievers see? Yeah? Now, it's amazing how the Quran actually discusses matters. Yeah, I mean, by definition, it's amazing because it's coming from the Creator. But you see, you know that what you just said. Oh, look, you know, we commonly hear statements like, "Oh, science has just found that out today. We were told 1400 years ago." Yeah, that's quite a famous one. Okay.
So once upon a time, I used to use this argument as well until I realized 1 second it can go wrong. So I had to separate myself from it.
Exactly. But to me, when I say don't impose, but extract.
Yeah.
Yeah. This example I just gave, Surah 21, Ayah 30. Yeah. Do you know of any, and I'm going to use this, and I'm not trying to be, how can we say, secessionary, okay?
Yeah.
Do we know of any Muslim research facilities that are trying to establish the veracity of the contents of the Quran?
I can't think of any. I'll be honest with you. I
No,
can't think of any.
no. Now, here's an odd one. I am
I
one.
think to be fair though, I think you might find one or two here and there, but as a whole, you're not going to see much interest.
Absolutely, but I'll tell you why. Because as far as we are concerned, religion is separate, science is separate. Okay? Now,
Yeah.
here is something I'm going to add. You see, as Muslims, if I were to start a research paper, in the current understanding is that if you have come up with some theory, you will draft it and you will have it peer reviewed. Peer reviewed meaning other scientists in the same field are going to have a look at it and see whether what you are saying has any validity. Okay? If I were to start a paper by first noting at the start an ayah of the Quran, I'll tell you what, I was having a conversation with some educationalists in Qatar. And I said to them, you know what? I am seeking some research funding. Yeah? But the funding that I am requiring is for X. Yeah? I said, if I gave a good enough proposal, would I get the funding? They all said yes. I then said, suppose I were to say that that X proposal is as a result of a statement in a religious book. They all told me straight, they said, you won't get the funding.
No, okay.
You will not get the funding. And I then explained that, look, the reason I'm saying this is because I want this distinction that we Muslims have of religion and science to be dispensed with. Why? And what I'm about to say, again, may sound controversial, but like I said, what one needs to do is apply a bit of reason and logic. Yeah?
Yeah.
My contention is that every subject matter that is worth being mentioned for the creation of the Creator is contained in the Quran. If that is the case and it is contained in the Quran, is there any subject matter that is outside the Quran? My contention would be, if the Quran contains it, if the Quran has got that information, then it is for this world.
Yeah.
Yeah? Is there a possibility that we need to expand our understanding of what the Quran actually contains? My submission would be a definitive yes. You know why?
Yeah, I mean, because if you look at it this way, that the world that we're living in this day and age, obviously the Quran, it was revealed 1500 years ago, right? Now, many people think that the Quran is only for that time, but if you look at it in principle, I mean, in the Islamic terms, we have a term that we use. It's called ijtihad.
Yeah.
Which means deriving a ruling when we're in a specific situation where you can't find an exact. So, for example, driving cars. Let's say, take that as an example, right?
Yeah.
There were no cars in the Prophet, so that means we cannot be driving cars now. No, it doesn't work that way. Back then, there were other sources of traveling, horses, or you say camels, or so we can deduct it from there and say yes, we can drive. So like you mentioned, in principle we do have that, in the Quran?
Absolutely. And here is where the issue arises. You see, for me, if there is a subject matter, for example, the Quran says, go out into the lands and see what happened to X, Y, and Z. Yeah? I would consider for us to view these statements in the context of the understanding we possess today.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a valid stance to take. You know why? Because either you are going to say that the Quran was revealed only for the people of Arabia at that time, or we are going to say that the Quran was revealed for the whole of humanity up to the time that the Creator deems it appropriate to bring the end to everything.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be using Surah 5, Ayah 3, as I mentioned earlier on. It is mentioning to us, this day have I perfected your way for you and chosen al-Islam. Yeah? To me, if you look at some of the statements in the Quran, they not only are talking about subject matter which today we are only starting to touch on. Yeah. A quick example, if I were to give, and it is something we'll go into deeper later, inshallah, I'm sure we will. Yeah. Is Surah 27, Ayah 38 to Ayah 40. Okay. Now, I was having a conversation with some students in Manchester, and I said to them, do you know what? This ayah is incredible. It is talking about Sulaiman alayhi salam, and he asks his, trusted delegates there. She is coming, the queen. Yeah, we call her the Queen of Sheba. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bilqis is arriving.
Mm-hmm.
And I want her to feel at home. I'm just phrasing it in this way. Yeah. I want her to feel at home. So who is able to bring her throne over? Yeah. One of the ifrits, according to the ayah, a strong one, ifrit, he says, by the time this meeting is finished, and I'm just phrasing it like that, by the time it is finished, I will have brought it over because I have got the necessary strength to bring it over. Now, at that point, Sulaiman alayhi salam says, sort of, in a roundabout way, not quick enough. Yeah, I need it to be done a bit quicker. Okay. Now you ask yourself, well, her arrival was not imminent.
Yeah.
Why would he ask that? But then the verse turns. Yeah. The next ayah says, the one who had knowledge of the scripture said to Sulaiman, I will be able to transport it in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And he did exactly that. Now, like I said, when we were having a discussion about it, certain questions arise in my mind. Yeah. And the first question that arose in my mind is, he transported something from one location to another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We consider it a miracle.
A miracle, yeah.
Yeah. My humble submission is that we only considered it a miracle because our view of what the contents of the Quran are is obviously affected by the understanding of the majority.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is understandable. Okay. But he says, in the blink of an eye, I had knowledge to be able to bring it over. Now, granted, sorry?
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. Granted that there is a discussion about whether this particular individual was an ifrit or was it a human being. There is a name, Asif bin Barkhia, a human being associated with this event. Okay? But I am saying to myself, wait a minute, wherever it was transported from, surely they must have gone Dulali. Yeah, they must have realized, hey, somebody has stolen our thing. Where has it gone? Yeah, there would be some kind of recording of this incident. Yeah, because you are talking about the throne. Now,
Yeah.
granted, we need to define what the throne was. Yeah, but my issue is not that. My issue is the fact that he was able to transport something
Mhm.
that was material.
Yeah.
Okay, in other words, it was composed of atoms and molecules.
Mhm.
Yeah, we call it matter. Now, here's a question, brother. Let us assume it was a miracle.
Mhm.
What is the definition of the word miracle?
So from what I've heard is that
Yeah.
miracle is something that modern science cannot explain.
Excellent point.
That's the
It's right. In a
yeah,
nutshell, it's not something that it can explain.
yeah.
Okay. But you know what? I will just, there was a phrase that was used, or rather a saying by, I think it was Paul Davies, he was a scientist.
Right.
And he said, if everything is subject to natural causes,
Mhm.
then there is no room for supernatural causes. Yeah?
Yeah.
So it's quite logical. If
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
all subject to natural causes. Now, the question I was asking just on this ayah here is that did it happen within time and space?
Mhm.
Now, here's an issue. You see, when we talk about time and space, are we talking about science?
Time and space. Yeah.
Yeah, we are, aren't we?
Yeah.
But this ayah here is referring to an incident that clearly is not only talking about time and space, but it is talking about a technology that we will discover. Now, here it's going to sound controversial. Okay, I am submitting that we are going to find the necessary knowledge. It's already there.
Yeah, yeah.
We have to seek it.
You have
Yeah,
to see. Yeah.
we will seek that knowledge to be able to understand how this was, we usually would call it, pulled off, yeah, by this particular individual.
You know, one thing I just want to bring into this
Sure.
is imagine this if we had a smartphone 1500 years ago.
Yeah.
The Sahabas would say this is a miracle. How can you talk to someone from a different place, location, and we're talking on the phone? That's a miracle.
Yeah, you
Now
got
this
it.
thing, and this thing, what you just said is that after seeking the necessary evidence, there might be something out there that can do the same thing. Is that what you're saying?
Not only am I saying that, you're absolutely spot on. What I am saying is the Creator is informing us
Mm.
of an event that took place in a time, I'm using the word time, in a time when the amount of knowledge that was necessary we don't even possess today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the question is this, like you said about the phone, they would
Yeah.
consider it a miracle. Okay. My contention is that Allah is telling us here that an event took place. How did that event take place?
Mhm.
Yeah, that is what we are discussing right now.
Yeah.
My contention is that, look, I don't know if you are familiar with the current research taking place of having something being transferred from one location to another.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
That's interesting. Yeah.
there is research taking place now.
Right.
Granted that it goes into the complexities of how a particular thing is connected here and it's connected there. Yeah, it's quite what we would call scientific. But the point is that research is actually being done right now of taking one thing and transferring it to another location.
Yeah.
Okay, the research is at its infancy stage. Okay, but the indications are there that whoever is doing the research is actually trying to understand how we can take a thing consisting of matter to another location. You know what? I don't know if you're familiar with Star Trek.
Yeah.
Star
I
Trek,
am.
yeah.
Yeah. I know.
And the famous phrase, "Beam me up, Scotty."
Yeah.
Yeah, taking from one location and transporting to another. Well,
Yeah.
look, This ayah in the Quran is actually telling us that's exactly what happened.
Right,
From one
right.
location, it was transported to another location.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now, two things that I am considering within this ayah, and there will be many more if the necessary research is undertaken. Yeah. The ayah is very clear. It's talking about a transportation. Was it matter that was transported? My submission is yes, it was. Okay. The question is, how was it done? Now, what I'm look at this. What I'm discussing with you, brother, if no one, so if somebody just walked into the room, I can guarantee you 100% that they would think we are talking about a particular scientific subject.
Right.
No way would they associate it with the Quran.
No, they wouldn't know.
Unless and until you mentioned that this is in the Quran. The amazing thing is the moment you mention it, the mind automatically just starts thinking something else.
It was because how people think today is Quran is over here and science is over here and the clashing.
Exactly.
You see, this is what I'm talking about.
Cool. My contention is there is absolutely no in fact, I would submit, my brother, the Quran is highly encouraging all Muslims to be scientists.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when I'm using these words, like I said, I'm using it on the basis of how we use the word scientia, meaning knowledge. Yeah. But if we are to expand that to the understanding today, there is absolutely no distinction at all. Like I said, you see, the conversation we are having right now with 27, Surah 27. If we go to Surah Al-Kahf, here's another phenomena that was mentioned that had happened at least over 1,700 years ago, definitely. You are familiar with the youths in the cave?
The people of the cave, where they slept for so many years.
Now look at this. A question arose. The ayah says that they were put to sleep. But the ayah also says that they turned left and they turned right. Now, you ask yourself a question. Why would we be told they turn left and they turn right? Question. Second question. The ayah says that they slept for an X amount of time. Can you remember how many years?
Probably a couple of 100 years, wasn't it?
300 plus years.
300 plus years,
But here is a question. You see, according to the ayah, their bodies did not undergo what we would call natural aging. They didn't. Because when they woke up, they were just as young.
Exactly.
Okay? Now, are you familiar with any research facilities that are looking at how the body ages and how you can reverse the aging?
I've seen a couple of things here and there where they say, we're trying our best to, make a person live longer than he can. So I've come across certain things like that,
There is one organization that is dedicated to checking out how everything is functioning in the body. Now, people are going to say that, look, you can't, death is death, That's another thing, while we are talking about it, I may as well mention it, scientifically speaking. I asked a question to some of the brothers I was speaking to. I said, I'm about to ask a question, and I want you guys to tell me what you think. So I'm going to ask you the same, brother. Is everything, according to the perspective of Islam, is everything created?
With everything that we know. Of course, everything's created.
It is, isn't it? Okay. Is death created?
Death is a creation as well, yes.
Can it be suspended?
What do you mean by suspended?
Okay, good question. You see, if death is a creation, then us, what we, I don't know, on death certificates, they sometimes write, died of old age. Died naturally. What does that actually mean? Died naturally. What does it mean?
What does
It
it mean?
means it means that the functions of the body just ceased. Okay,
Please, yeah, yeah.
in a manner where it wasn't because of the heart pumping out or the kidneys down, whatever. Yeah,
Mhm.
loosely I'm speaking. But the point here is this: that if everything is a creation, death is also a creation.
Yes,
And
yes, yes.
amazingly, the Quran points out we created death and life.
Yes.
61. Yeah, that's what it is telling you. Now, can anybody tell you that death is something that has been actually utilized
Mhm.
for a particular purpose? Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah,
Question.
yeah,
I'm just attaching it to what we're
yeah, yeah.
talking about in Surah Al Kahf. You see, the Quran is talking about a human being going into what we would call suspension. Yeah. Now, it is odd that the Quran actually tells us it was a cave,
Mhm.
it was this, it was that. What is it suggesting to us? I don't know if you are familiar with the fact that the body, when it is in colder temperatures, you can actually, when they're transporting a heart for a heart transplant,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it usually is in a case full of
Yes.
ice.
Ice, yeah, yeah. It kind of was, does it preserve it or something?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, can you see all that we are discussing right now is in the realm of science?
Mm.
But these are ayahs in the Quran. I know we will go into them deeper, inshallah.
Yeah,
But I'm
inshallah, yeah.
just I'm just mentioning a specific few here, and there are a multitude of ayahs in the Quran. Yeah. But
Mhm.
this one, for 300 years, they remained alive. Now,
Mm.
oddly enough, it talked about them being turned from the left and then to the right. Yeah. Now, I'm using a simplistic example, but it's an amazing example that if you go into hospitals and
Yeah.
there is a patient who is not able to turn
Mm.
themselves left and right, what
Yeah.
do? They turn them left and right.
Yeah, they do, yeah. Yeah.
You ask them why, and they will tell you so as to avoid bed sores.
Right, 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 right.
And that is why they are turned. Okay?
Mhm.
Because with the human body, if it's in a particular position for a very long time, it starts affecting the body. Now,
Mm.
what I am saying is look, I am extracting an ayah from the Quran and I'm looking at the information available right now and seeing whether it is pointing us towards what the Quran is actually saying.
Mhm.
But the question that you had asked was the compatibility of Islam with science. And I am submitting that there is absolutely no distinction between the two,
No.
but we need to look at how the Quran is talking to us rather than us imposing on the Quran. Yeah? So, a light example, brother. This day have I perfected your religion for you.
Yeah.
Yeah? Now, this is what we commonly are told. But here is
Mhm.
an issue that I would raise very quickly in terms of the compatibility issue. You see, if I were to use the word religion, then there is a distinction between religion and science.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know why? Because the word religion, if I just ask you off the top of your head, what
Yeah, yeah.
what is the word religion? What is it defined as?
Right. So from my I mean research, when you look at the
Perspective. Yeah,
definition
sure.
of it, yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it always says religion that goes back to some kind of supernatural force or God or something along them lines. So that's why a religion that has many, many rules that you've got to follow in it. So that's the kind of definition that I've come across before.
Excellent. Do you know what I'm going to do? Just give me 1 second,
Okay.
brother. I'm just going to let me see because I had noted it down.
Okay.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
No problem.
Right. The word religion is defined, now listen carefully to this, is defined as the belief in
Yep.
and worship of a superhuman power or powers,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
especially a god or gods.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
does that fit with Islam?
No, from everything that we spoke about so far, it
It
doesn't.
doesn't.
Because that's, I mean, okay, fine. I mean, yeah, there's a God that we believe in, there's a creator that we believe in, So is it only that though?
Well, watch this.
Yeah.
What did you just say? A God we
Sorry?
believe in. You just
Yeah.
said a God we believe in.
Yeah.
The definition of belief, an acceptance that something exists or is true, especially when without proof.
Okay. Right.
Now, here's an issue. Then you will have some, when we are discussing, we say, our faith tells us this.
Yeah.
Definition of faith,
Yeah.
strong belief in the doctrines of a religion based on spiritual conviction rather than proof.
Yes.
All three of them, from my perspective, do not fit with Islam.
And that was the question I was going to ask you. I mean, you've kind of gone into it. The question actually was, and where's it gone? The fact that in many of your discussions, you do mention that you don't accept Islam as a religion.
Oh.
Many Muslims say Islam is a religion. Why do you disagree?
Oh, excellent. Well, we are at it. You see, because I always say to the brothers, some brothers tell me that, and I tell them, well, look, let's have a look at it. Like I said, always apply reason and logic. Yeah. I said, when did the word religion enter the dictionary?
Yeah.
It was in the 12th century. Okay. The question I ask is that prior to the 12th century, if the word religion was not there, what was Islam known as? It certainly wasn't a religion, was it?
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. But here is the issue. You see the word Deen that is used in Surah 5, Ayah 3. Okay? No way can it be translated as religion. Yeah? There's an issue here. Wherever you have got the word Deen utilized in the Quran, it cannot translate to religion. And we are using specific words. That's why we are addressing this. Generally, people seem to understand what they mean when they say, oh, my religion says this. I'm always telling my Muslim brothers to desist from using the word religion to apply to Islam. Okay? Now, here is an issue, brother, to just bring it round. The compatibility of science with religion, it only arises because a distinction has been made between the two. Yeah? A distinction made between science and a distinction made between the word science and religion. Now, if I were to suggest to you that there is one word that brings the two, amalgamates them, because of the contents, then that would be the appropriate word to utilize, isn't it?
Yes, it would be, yeah.
Well, that is the word Deen. Because the word Deen is all encapsulating.
Right.
Yeah? The word Deen is used in the Quran, which by definition means the contents of the Quran.
Yeah.
And if the contents of the Quran have ayahs which clearly, as I said earlier on, if we were discussing this and somebody walked into the room, he would just think that we are talking about some scientific subject.
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding, and I just want to kind of express it, is how because what you explained, I had this image in mind that Deen is a path, and anything that takes you there and there, you could say that's religion.
Yeah.
Because the path itself is meant to take you to the path of success, you could say, right?
Yeah.
But a religion might be something that might take a left turn, a right turn, or a left turn.
Loosely speaking, yes, I would agree. I would agree with what you just said. You see, the issue we have to think about, brother. Now, watch this. What is the path to paradise? In a nutshell, tell me.
To Jannah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you asked. This is it's a loaded question.
Exactly. That's why I said in a nutshell. In a nutshell, what would it be?
Accepting Islam as your way of life.
Okay.
Getting knowledge, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being good to people, I would say. I mean, there are many rules that you can, I could probably give you loads right now.
Brilliant. No, that's good enough. But I'm going to ask you this. If I were to say to you, brother, I have decided to dedicate my life in the research of physics.
Yeah.
Will that take me to Jannah?
I would say so.
Why?
I would say so. Why? Because as the Quran encourages knowledge,
Yeah,
science,
you got it. You got it.
you're in the physics.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, can you
Of
see how,
course,
brother?
you're doing
A
a service
slight
to the
angle,
people here.
a slight angle of view, it changes the whole picture.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
But you see, like I told the brother, I said the brother performs his salah, he does what is needed. You know, where you say, be good, do this. He's doing all that, but his whole life is dedicated to
And
researching.
that's the reason I said gain knowledge.
Yeah, but it's true. It's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
but here is now, if I were to dedicate my life in trying to understand Surah 27, ayah 38 to 40, as to how that particular individual transported something, yeah, and I dedicate my life to it, I will be doing what Allah has told me to do.
Mm.
So my contention is, I tell all the young people also that, look, move into all these subjects, yeah, into all what we call the sciences, because you are actually reflecting what the Quran is telling us to do. Yeah, it's telling us to research. Yeah, you know, we will I'm sure we will discuss this, yeah, where we are told about finding out the people who were destroyed, etc. Yeah, we call it archaeology.
Right,
Okay,
right.
but again, every subject Surah 41, ayah 11, turn to the heavens when it was smoke, Surah
Yeah,
Dukhan.
yeah.
I would suggest that comes within the realm of astrophysics. Okay, it talks
Aha.
it talks about the animals. It comes under zoology.
Right, yeah.
It talks about it. Yeah, it talks about the functioning of the human body and the fetus. Yeah, or the embryo. It's talking about biology. So there is a big problem here. If the subject matter in the Quran is clearly referring to what we would consider to be the sciences today,
Mm-hmm.
how in the world can we say that knowledge is not contained in the Quran? Now you will notice I didn't say that science is contained in the Quran. That knowledge is contained in the Quran.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So to me, there is absolutely no distinction. I highly recommend to the young Muslims also today that, look, go into these fields. Okay, you know what? Inshallah, this has been nearly 4 years in the making. Okay, but I am going to be introducing a system where Muslims, and I'm not going to restrict it only to Muslims, okay, but predominantly Muslims who want to go into these fields, which normally are not encouraged, okay. You know, we are commonly told lawyer, engineer,
Yeah,
doctor,
yeah,
lawyer,
yeah, yeah.
engineer, doctor.
Yeah.
There are other fields which a lot of children are interested in. Let
Yeah.
them go into those fields, because that is what the Creator is telling us to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are not going away from Islam by wanting to study something like that. In fact, you are doing exactly what the Quran is telling you to
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, my brother, after going right round the earth, we can clearly say that in terms of compatibility, if that is how you want to frame the question, I would say absolutely there is compatibility. In fact, I would go a bit further and say, actually, the Quran surpasses or even goes beyond the way we understand the word science and the scientific method of today. It is going to be improved on. It is going to get to that stage where it will be in entire agreement with the contents of the Quran.
Thank you very much. I mean, Jazakumullah khair for your time, brother Shabir Yusuf. You know, just to touch upon one last thing here is the fact that, you know, in our environment, or let's say in our culture, let's say, right? You know, majority of the people, especially if we go, like we mentioned last time, Pakistan, or in, you know,
Yes.
most of the people there, especially our like elders who have never been in this kind of field before, you tell them that if you go to space, there's no gravity there and you're going to be all over the place. They're going to say, oh my God, what, you're going to be flying over there. And they can't believe it. You know, they don't understand it, you know, they don't, because they've never looked into it. And like you mentioned, I think the kids, instead of being just doctors or engineers, they should go to all these other fields. Imagine, you know, Muslims in the future, you know, going up to space.
Absolutely. I have no
And
issue.
yeah, and also, I mean, I was looking the other day, right? You know, in the golden era of Islam, there was all kind of things going on. There's innovations going on, new inventions going on, and research going on. But unfortunately, I mean, we've kind of come away from that, as you mentioned as well. So,
you're right. But look, brother, at the end of the day, I usually say, what is the most? There are many amazing things. One of the most amazing things about the Quran is that no matter how much you move away, it is always there for you to come back.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, always. Okay, and what that means is that for me, I want to know why we don't have young Muslim inventors. Young Muslim inventors.
Yeah.
So I have set up something like that, where it is going to go out, the website details and everything, inshallah, will be given, where the young Muslims or even Muslims are going to be encouraged to forward their inventions. Obviously, we will sign all the declarations that are required, for confidentiality, etc. Okay, but we want to see why this is not happening. We want a Young Muslims Inventors Association or something. Okay, where they can come together, share ideas, show us what they have thought about. Some inventions will just be plain daft, but some of them will be very good. But that encouragement now needs to be given. And no better encouragement to the Muslims than telling them that this is what Allah is wanting us to do via the Quran. So every subject matter that is discussed in the Quran, as far as I'm concerned, is compatible. Every subject matter. And unfortunately, for some people, it is bad news, because it means that there are subject matter that are contained in the Quran which you want to exclusivize into science only. Well, the Quran doesn't allow that. It has brought everything together and it is one.
Definitely. So I mean, I will be looking forward, for whatever you are trying to do, and inshallah, my support is there for you as well. We'll try to look into a bit more. So brother Shabir Yusuf, it's been again a pleasure. Part 3, I've got more questions for you, inshallah.
Inshallah. Right, definitely, inshallah. For as long as I'm alive, inshallah, that moment you call,
may Allah preserve your life, like we said.
Ameen, inshallah. For everybody. But inshallah, we can get on with other details and go a bit into more detail, inshallah.
Inshallah. So you look after yourself.
And you, my brother.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.